Hi, I'm Katie. Welcome to Christian Vegan Conversations. If you're new here, please take a look at our fundamental videos so you can join right in on the conversation. So today's topic is going to be pretty political. And usually I like to avoid political topics. We kind of all do because they're usually fraught with people arguing about it. But the whole point of this series is that we have open and honest conversations where we're learning from each other. And if we avoid topics that are relevant for today that people were really striving to understand, how are we helping anybody? So let's do that. Let's join in this conversation. So what we're going to be talking about today is a headline that I saw that most people on both sides, Christians and animal advocates, vegans, were celebrating. Oh, they were so excited about it. And up until a week ago, I would have been with them. Right now, red flags going up. There's a big problem here. And I'll tell you why there's a big problem. But first, let's look at the article itself. All right, you can look up many articles on this yourself, but here's the gist of it, and quote right out of there: puppy mills fueled by high demand for young canines is the most pronounced, one advocate said, but there are other mills catering to those seeking designer cat breeds or in families seeking bunnies as gifts for Easter. And then it talks about how this is going to go in effect in around December, most likely, and other states have done it. You can see who the supporters of this are. You're also going to see in here that there are advocates who argue that this isn't the best way to go about things, and a whole lot of propaganda on these pages. I guess I'll keep it there and not edit it out. It'll be interesting to look back at history and see that there. So how on earth could this be wrong? Aren't puppy mills bad? Yes. Shouldn't it be a bad thing to sell these animals from pet stores? Yes. So how could this be a bad thing? It is because of how it's come across. So the government has decided to tell a business what they can and cannot do. Once you open that can of worms, just try putting the lid back on it. Because if it's okay in this one instance, why isn't it okay everywhere? Why couldn't they go into a bakery and tell the baker what ingredients can and cannot be used? Why couldn't they go into a bookstore and say, well, we don't teach religion in the school, so we don't think that you should sell any religious books, so want those all off the shelves now. You're not allowed to sell them. What's to stop for them from going into stores and restaurants and telling them that they have to discriminate against a certain group of people and not serve them? Wait a second, hasn't that already happened this last year? I might get kicked off the YouTube for saying that, but we've all seen it with our own eyes. Okay? And that last one is not legal, but they want it to be. If you don't understand what's legal, what's not, please study the law. Know that for something to be a law, it has to have a code to be enforced. You have to be able to look it up so you can see that you've broken the law or there is no law about this. And studying law is like fingernails on the chalkboard to me, but I do it because I have to. Because if I don't know the law, I might break it. If I don't know the law, I'm not going to be able to defend myself against someone trying to break it and hurt me in the process. So even if you hate the topic, please study it like I have. Now, when I suggested that this was a bad thing on the group that was celebrating this, of course, they didn't like to hear it. You don't want to be the naysayer in the crowd. Party pooper. That's me. And of course, I had people questioning if I was even an animal advocate at all. Well, I mean, why would I go to the trouble of making a vegan series and do everything I've done my entire life if I wasn't an animal advocate? Okay, that's obviously not the problem here. But what is the problem? Why do people not really want to look at this? It's because if you even have the feeling that you've been hoodwinked or you're celebrating something that's really not that great, you don't want to look the fool. Okay? But come on, we've all been there. We've all fallen for something that we should have known better. We should have done our research. So there's no point in playing the victim because we're all in the same boat on this one. What we do is we learn. Good, better, best. Never let it rest till your good gets better and your better gets best. I just learned something recently that I probably should have known for a while now, but it finally clicked and hit home. I was ready to hear the message. So hopefully you're ready to hear this message. Okay, so if that's not the solution, then what is? Because obviously puppy mills are bad. Obviously it's bad to sell these animals because of the conditions they're in. Just research puppy mills, it's horrific. So what is the solution? Well, we look at history to find the solution of, because we can see what worked and what did not work. And I'll give you a hint of what the solution is, and you're probably going to think it's not going to work, but I'll tell you what it is anyway. Okay, so it's boycotting, education, and then if you understand what this means, peaceful legal protesting. Okay, so a lot of people say this doesn't work, but to all the naysayers to that, I would ask them to look at just the last few months at what happened to Disney and Star Wars when they mishandled things with Gina Carano. What happened? Okay? They were boycotted. What just happened to Coca-Cola? Who laughed at everybody and said, make a fuss all you want, you're just a little minority. Okay, their heads are spinning right now because enough people are paying attention now and actually got up and did something about it. They didn't just say, shame on you, which is what we've been doing for decades. We've been very apathetic. Once people started paying attention and we joined together, things surprisingly happened. Have you ever heard that you vote with your dollar? Supply and demand? Okay, so let's explore that. What has happened in history that is similar to this? Okay, slavery. Whether you're a black slave or an Irish slave, no matter what country you're in, not just America, you were considered property. So when people thought that some things that were happening to slaves were just too horrible, what happened? They tried to pass a few laws. Here, there, smatterings of, well, you can only hang them in this instance type thing. You can only kill them in this instance. There has to be laws about this. Did that solve the problem? No. The heart of man never changed for the people who were doing these atrocities. If you look at Jeremiah 17:9, it says, the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? We got to understand that most people who are doing things that are wrong are not coming from a good place in their heart. And people who are going along with it may not recognize that. So, okay, another instance of property. Women were property. Women have been property for thousands of years and still are in some places. So we've had laws about that too. Oh, you can only beat your wife this much or in this circumstance. Has anything changed? Did the heart of the husband or the heart of all the men in that area change towards women because this law came about? No. Okay, so let's look at another one. We're trying to defend the innocent and the vulnerable. A law came out forbidding the sale of alcohol to minors. Did that stop minors from buying alcohol? I saw with my own eyes kids who were very determined doing things like making fake IDs, getting somebody else to purchase it for them. I mean, they are sneaky and they came up with a way to do it. Another law that was thought to protect the innocent that came about just recently. What did Lubbock, Texas do? They banned all abortion in the city. Okay, how has that really changed things? If there's a woman in Lubbock, Texas who wants to get an abortion, what's to stop her from leaving the city and doing it elsewhere? Okay, you get what I'm saying? So the people perpetrating these things will just find other ways to do it. They want to avoid punishment, of course. So what has worked in history? The problem when something is property and not deemed an individual with sovereign rights that were given to them by their creator. This is what happens when you kick God out of the schools. People don't understand this part about morality of, I am an individual. I have sovereign rights that were given to me by God. The government cannot take those rights away. It's not theirs to give and take. So the government denied those rights to all the slaves. It denied the rights to all those women, and some still are. They're still slaves. They're still women who are treated like property. It's denying the rights to animals. They are treated like household appliances of, oh, well, you killed my animal. Well, I'll just buy you another one. It's no big deal. Those of us who have pets know that it is a big deal, and that's not justice. That is not fair. If you believe that babies are human beings at the point of conception, you know in your heart that you believe that abortion is wrong. So it's the heart that's the problem. These laws have done something good, though. I don't want to completely bash them and say that they're all bad. They have brought awareness of there's a problem. We made a law because there's this irritating problem that the people are complaining about. But what we have to do is stop suppressing the rights that God gave these individuals and acknowledge them. Once we acknowledge that you're a human, not a slave. You're a human, not just a woman piece of property. You're a human, not a blob of cells. You are a living sentient being, not just an animal property type thing. Once we acknowledge what they truly are, as defined in the Bible, hey, vegans, you're going to love this. Then they automatically have rights. And we cannot treat them whatever way that we wanted to, like they were our property, because they were given rights and we have no right to take those rights away from them. We have to treat them in alignment with that. So what needs to happen is more and more, the majority of people need to be speaking out of these individuals do have rights. And the way we've been treating them is not accepting those rights as reality. We need to change how everybody views this, and everything else falls in line. Or what happened when we acknowledged that the slaves were actually people? People fought against slavery with a huge force. What happened when we acknowledged that women were just as valuable as men? Women rose up and men rose up with them and said, hey, that's right. Gosh darn it, that's right. What you've been doing is wrong. We just need to do the same here. So don't get discouraged. Gather people with you who understand this and tell them the solution isn't overreach by the government. Because if you think that that is the solution, you're always going to be running to the next politician who promises you something, just like candy from a stranger. We were all told not to accept candy from a stranger. Stop believing what they tell us. That's not the solution. We are the solution. We need to change our hearts, and we need to influence the people around us and let them know we're not going to stand for stuff that is wrong anymore. And can you imagine the old days if someone tried to go in who was a minor and buy liquor from a store? That store owner would have looked at him and said, William, I'm ashamed of you, and I'm going to go tell your father what you just did. That boy is not going to be coming in that store again for a long time except to apologize. That's how it happened in the old days. There's nothing wrong with that. Everybody was looking out for each other because they had an idea of what morality was. Okay? And if, say, that store clerk had sold William the bottle of alcohol, some nosy person in the store would have seen that and gone and told the neighbor who told the neighbor, and pretty soon the whole town would have been saying, did you see what he did? Well, we're not giving him our business anymore. How dare he ruin a young man's life like that? Supply and demand. It worked back then, it works now, but only if we get off our lazy tushes and actually do something about it rather than shaking our finger at a screen and saying, naughty, naughty. Get up and say something about it. Make a movement. Make a difference. Make a difference for good. And out of love. Because love combats the evil that's in other hearts every time. Not laws. Laws don't do anything to change anybody's heart. Love does. Truth does. Now that you're equipped, go for it. I also want to give a huge thank you to Peggy Hall from thehealthyamerican.org. Thank you so much for doing a video on this topic. You pointed out my own hypocrisy, and I've asked God to point this out to me anywhere that I've been going down the wrong track and need to make a 180, and that my heart would be open to that. I wouldn't be resistant to it or spiteful towards the messenger, that I would be accepting of that. And your message came at just the right time. I really appreciate it, and everything you do is wonderful. So thank you so much for being a part of my life and many, many more lives, and for all that you do. If you'd like help in understanding the laws of today and what is relevant at this very time, please do check out Peggy's website. You will not be disappointed. It'll give you the education that you're looking for without it being so horrible to dig through all the research. She's done it for us, and she's done an amazing, lovely job.